At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
I mean, the reality is, if you don't enjoy college football, I don't understand you.
It's the arrival. I came in the league, went straight for the title.
He's got it! Jeremiah Smith!
The Michigan Wolverines shocked the college football world.
You know, some people gotta learn how to lose, man.
And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State.
This is The Rivalry. Proud to be part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
This is The Rivalry Podcast. My name is Jace. This is JP.
What up?
It's Michigan and Ohio State, the greatest rivalry, not just in college football, but in all of sports, from River Radio Ministries, presented by our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. Every single week, if you're new here, we walk through Michigan and Ohio State football, what just happened, what's coming up, and what that means for the last Saturday in November. Glad that you're here wherever you social media at RivalPod, rivalpod.com, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. We're getting closer. We've almost hit the 1K mark on subscribers,
crazy.
Which is, I mean, this is a small budget podcast. We've always believed in the content, but just the distribution has always struggled a little bit for whatever reason. This year it has taken off. And so thank you. If you listen, if you download, subscribe, rate, review, however, financially support at rivalpod.com, however you get involved in this podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's talk a little bit about college football.
Yeah, one of the things, if you are new here, that we like to do each show is a little thing we call Wheel Route. And this week was honestly a little bit of a struggle to figure out what to talk about because there didn't feel like an overwhelming topic. But I feel like this has been something that each week people are kind of muttering under their breath. Is Alabama legit? Are we finally on the side? Because obviously week one, they lose to Florida State. Everybody's immediately off the bandwagon. And Alabama is frauds.
That included us. I mean, we buried them.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Danced on their grave a little bit.
I would love to pick the shovel up again. But we both kind of said, man, I think we even did a whole wheel route specifically about DeBoer and going, all right, what's this look like now? And so now that we're a decent of the way in, has that changed? Or are you still kind of on the fence? Have they done enough now to prove to you this is a legit title contending team?
Yeah. Absolutely they have. And again, we were both in the same boat, and I don't presume to know how you're going to answer your question there, but we were both in the same boat of when they got beat by Florida State flat out wanted it more. Kalen DeBoer looked completely outcoached. Alabama looked completely overwhelmed, completely outmatched. And ever since then, Alabama has looked like a completely different team. I mean, and they've beat now like 3 ranked opponents.
I think 4
in a row
or
something.
4 now.
I mean, they beat, and I'm going off the top of my head here, so I know I'm missing somebody in there, but they beat Georgia and they beat Vanderbilt, and then they beat Mizzou, and then this past week, like it's just over and over and over again, Alabama continues to instill confidence in me, who would love nothing more than Alabama to be terrible.
I know.
But Alabama, I don't think that you can seriously look at what Alabama is doing at this point in the year and think that's the same team from September. Now, I'll caveat, though, one thing that I do think you have to hold on to, and this has less to do about Alabama being a legitimate contender and more about playoff committee type stuff. Like what happens if Alabama drops a second game? What happens if they drop a third? You play the games in September for a reason. So while the committee has said we're going to honor good wins strongly, we're also going to punish bad losses strongly. Alabama has obviously stacked up a lot of strong wins here, and they've got a great case. Even if they drop a second game, they will be in the college football playoff. Where it gets dicey is what happens if Alabama ends up going like 9-3, because that game against Florida State, who apparently is a terrible football team, has now lost 4 in a row. Like that game still has to mean something, right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, Alabama runs the table, goes 11-1, 10-2, whatever. It won't matter, and it shouldn't. But if we get into a situation where Alabama's trying to vie for an at-large bid, kind of sneak their way in, if they kind of go off the rails here at the end, they lose to LSU and they lose the Iron Bowl or whatever. That loss to Florida State may come back to haunt them still, because the games in September still have to mean something. Otherwise, why don't we just fast forward to October, November? That would be the only caveat that I'd give. But yeah, I mean, Ty Simpson, the entire team,
great.
but like they look fantastic right now. Yeah, they're a contender. Absolutely.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I do think it gets interesting, like you said, if they end up dropping another, and if they drop 3, I think we're all convinced that's not a team that should be in there. But dropping a second game keeps them out of that SEC championship game.
Yeah, correct.
Or should.
Yeah, you assume so.
And so I'm looking at their future schedule here. So they've got out at South Carolina this week. But the thing that I think really helps them here is their next 2 games are against LSU and Oklahoma, both of which they get to play at home in Tuscaloosa.
Well, in LSU
is going to help a ton.
And LSU has obviously had its own issues. You know, I was very high. I've been very high on them. I picked them to win the SEC. They don't look like they're playing at that level right now. They're still a good team.
A dangerous team. Those
Absolutely
are still dangerous games to play.
And then Oklahoma same thing, good team.
Is another tough game. Then they play Eastern Illinois, trap game. No, I'm just kidding. They're not a trap game. But then they obviously finish in the Iron Bowl against Auburn, but it's at Auburn. So they've got a gauntlet ahead of them. I mean, South Carolina is really not a slouch either. That's a team that
it's a game they should win.
They should win. But with Lenore Sellers at the helm, you never truly know. You don't ever feel super, super confident going in.
Well, and for a podcast focused on such a big rivalry as Michigan Ohio State, I mean, in my mind, you know, there's obviously not a better rivalry in all of sports. But I would say for college football, at least the second level, like the runner up for that, for me personally, is the Iron Bowl. I mean, Alabama Auburn hatred runs so deep, and the way that those games are always just absolutely chaotic. I mean, even the year Michigan won the Natty, Alabama only ends up getting to where they get to in the SEC championship game in the Rose Bowl, because Alabama had, I mean, that was the Jalen Milroe 4th and forever touchdown pass, was it not? I mean, it just weird, crazy stuff happens. The kicks, like you don't need to be reminded of all of it, but that's all that to say. Yeah, the Iron Bowl will be fascinating if Alabama continues playing the way that they're playing. They're going to be a hard out.
It's tough.
They're going to be a hard out for anybody.
Losing a single one of those.
They are playing right now, and their ranking reflects it. They are playing at the level of the best teams in the country, right? Whether you want to say that's Ohio State or Georgia or Indiana for that matter, like whoever you want to put up in that upper echelon of how are you playing right now, Alabama is right in the thick of that.
100%. So I think we both agree. Alabama, the real deal, swayed us completely from the start of the season. But let's talk about another team that has been the real deal this season. Let's talk about my Buckeyes here for a second. Going on the road to Madison, playing the Badgers. Badgers obviously not a good team. They were 25.5-point underdogs going into this game against the Buckeyes. They were on their 3rd string quarterback. I wrote down this summary because I was listening to the game, and the announcer said something on TV that just summarizes what this game was if you weren't able to watch it. There were 2 different things that they said, and one was to start the game when they started talking about the different lineup that each team was going to bring out, and they were talking about the quarterback position, and they talked about Billy Edwards not playing due to injury. Then they talked about Danny O'Neal, and they said he is not playing today due to ineffectiveness. Even my wife, who is not a football person whatsoever, starts laughing, and she goes, "That was a horrible way to say that they suck." And I said, "Yep, I've never heard somebody say they're not playing because of due to ineffectiveness."
The next time that, if you're a boss at a company and you have to fire somebody, just please send an email to them and say, "Hey, we're listing you on IR due to ineffectiveness."
Oh, it was amazing. I laughed for so long. The other thing that they said was, after the game had already started, it was like sometime in the 4th quarter. It was right after they ended up faking a punt, picking up a first down. It was like a 20-something yard gain. And they said the best player that day for Wisconsin was their punter. Anytime that statement comes out of your mouth, it is not a good day for your team. And it really wasn't for the Badgers.
Punting is winning if you're Iowa, but not for Wisconsin. I mean, the only positive that I can really take away from this for Wisconsin is I predicted last episode. We record these on Monday mornings typically. I said by the time we hit Monday morning next week, this was the last episode, I said Luke Fickell will not have a job. Inexplicably, unless ESPN has broken news in the last 20 minutes, Luke Fickell still has a job.
Mm-hmm.
So Billy Napier doesn't, and several other people don't. But so I guess maybe that's not a positive.
I was going to say
that's
the only positive is that it's officially done. It's over with. It's gone.
Yeah, I mean they've been outscored 95-10 over their last 3 games, including back-to-back shutouts. Back-to-back shutouts at home.
Yeah, no, this team ain't good.
I mean, there's not. I don't want to skip over it, but I'm like, I don't want to belabor the point. Wisconsin is bad. Ohio State looked good. Here's maybe the grain of sand in the watch for Ohio State. The run game continues to be an issue, and this is just. We've been accused of nitpicking a very good football team. Ohio State is a very good football team. I don't think anybody listen, I'm sitting here as the Michigan guy going, yeah, this is a really good football team.
Well, and it's our job to nitpick.
But also, it's not nitpicking if every single week, no matter who the opponent, with the exception of maybe Grambling, no matter who the opponent is, we keep coming back to they can't seem to run the ball very well. So like, where does that leave you as a Buckeye fan? Because it's not just, Wisconsin kind of has a good rush defense. It's every week we're going, this team can't run the ball.
I'm less concerned of it in a game like this. I think my fear is down the road when you get to the playoffs. If you get to the Michigan game, you get to the Big Ten championship, those games are where I think that's got to be fixed by then. The thing that I don't fully understand is this running back by committee that Ryan Day and Brian Hartline seem to continue to go back to. I get that you saw it a little bit more this week just because of the game, the nature of the game. But I mean, they went out there, Julian Sain threw it 42 times. So even just looking at the game plan, it didn't really feel like the run game was something that they were trying to go to. And I think some of that is because it's not been effective. I think other parts of that is that they want Julian Sain to continue to get more and more confident. You've got Ferraris and Lamborghinis all over the place at wideout that, of course, your game plan is going to be to get them the ball.
But do you need to be throwing the ball 42 times in Madison? Like the answer is no.
I don't think you need to. I don't really see a problem with it.
That's not a knock on saying. That's that I think, though, to your point / to my point, though, reemphasizes they clearly don't trust the running game.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to fix it throwing the ball 42 times.
Yeah. I think some of it, though, is the longevity of things. Like what I've seen them doing all season, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but you've seen Bo Jackson get a ton of carries, more and more so as the season's gone on. Mm-hmm. You still have CJ Donaldson getting back there and getting carries, which I'm fine with that. James People on occasion getting a carry. I don't really understand the point of that at this point in the season. This weekend, you saw Isaiah West go out there, and he actually had the best day of all of them. Bo Jackson was nearly ineffective. Yeah. I mean, he averaged like 2-point-something yards per carry. Isaiah West actually looked the best out of all of them. So I've heard that the Ohio State coaching staff say, well, we've got an abundance of talent, so we're going to continue to split the carries. I still firmly think Bo Jackson is RB1. I just don't even think it's that close. But I know that against Illinois, he was injured. He got hurt in that game. So part of me thinks maybe they're just in a game where you don't need him to go out there and show out. They were trying to be a little bit more conservative with him in the run game. I don't really have a ton of concerns with it, but I do think it's something you've got to fix up. Obviously, looking at the rest of their schedule, you've got some games that, because of who I am as a fan, I'm going to assume they're kind of trappish games, even though they might not be. Yeah. But I'm looking ahead at the games like Michigan, where you saw what happened last year, where Ohio State was adamant on trying to continually run the ball time and time again, and it wasn't working. I'm looking at if they make it to the Big Ten championship game. I'm looking at any playoff game. Sure, those Ohio State wide receivers are talented, but eventually you're going to face secondaries that are going to be up to the task. Yeah. Not that they'll be able to fully shut them down, but they're not going to have as many explosive plays. You're going to have to be able to rely on that run game some. And that's the only real criticism that I wrote down for that entire game. I know a lot of Ohio State fans were kind of being irrational walking out of that game, where they're like, only 34 points. What's going on here?
Yeah.
I don't care. They were 25.5 point favorites. They were over that. They looked good. They punted the ball one single time. They kicked a field goal. from the 20. I was like, oh, I would have loved to see 7, but it's 34-0 at the end of the day. The defense looked phenomenal. You knew they would. Wisconsin's offense was not phenomenal.
Putting up a ridiculous amount of points is not the only indicator that you dominated.
No, it's
game.
just,
and so
this game was out of reach before it even started at 3:30. Like it just is what it is.
I think for Ohio State, I think it's good analysis to say, hey, I'm less concerned about it in Wisconsin, but I do think that when you see a pattern for the Buckeyes where there is that struggle to run the ball, I do think you have to look at exactly what you're doing. Look at the Michigan game. Look at, let's say, Indiana or Oregon or however that shakes out. Look at potential playoff games and go, the problem for Ohio State, particularly with Michigan, and this has been talked about for 5 years now, the problem when Ohio State plays Michigan isn't that Ohio State doesn't have talented wide receiver. The problem has been Michigan's defense has been suffocating. And in some of those wins for Michigan, Ohio State has even gotten some points, has even gotten their shots. But particularly last year, you saw that Michigan kind of shut the whole thing down because when you can't run the football, when you play against, and again, Michigan's secondary wasn't phenomenal last year, but when you play against better secondaries, when I can key in on Jeremiah or I can bracket him off and I can, when you've got better schemes, you can't run the football effectively. Now suddenly you're behind the sticks a little bit and second and long, third and long. Better defenses can take advantage of that.
And I think my biggest issue with it, and this kind of translates into Ohio State's most glaring issue to me, because it's not really the run game. The most glaring issue has been the red zone effectiveness to me. And I think that's due mostly because of the lack of the run game. There's been numerous times this year where it's been 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, whatever, short yardage situations that they just routinely have failed to get. You've seen numerous 4th downs where it's a turnover on down because they try to run the ball and they just can't do it. Yeah. Those are the things that Ohio State's getting the short yardage. They're getting the ideal situations that you're wanting and just not being able to actually go through with it. And so that's the thing that it feels like you're nitpicking the run game. And while every week I'd love to say, oh, so-and-so had 100 yards on the ground and blah, 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 that would be phenomenal. Ohio State doesn't even need that to fix the issue. Yeah. What they need to fix in the run game is just being able to pick up those short yardage because they've got enough talent at receiver. It's impossible to bracket off both Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Right. One of them's going to have a day. You just kind of pick your poison. Yeah. So they're going to get those short yardage situations. But if you're the defense, you got to do what Michigan has done the past couple of years. Yep. You've got to prevent those short yardages from being converted. Yep. And teams have been able to do that at times this year. So going forward, when you start to get to the deep end of your schedule and you've got some of these tougher games, that's the thing that I'm looking at. I don't need Bo Jackson to go out there and get me 75 to 100 yards. I'd simply love it if he would. But I just need you to be able to pick up the 3rd and 2s, the 2nd and 4 and make it a 3rd and 1. The short yardage that just for a team like Ohio State with the amount of talent they do have back there doesn't feel like a huge ask. So while I'm sitting here going, this run game is a huge issue, the ask to fix it, I don't feel like is that big of a gap.
And thankfully as well, coming up between now and the Michigan game, I mean, you're on a bye obviously this week. You'll have an opportunity to do that. Penn State's defense, I mean, everything about Penn State's kind of an enigma right now. You know, you're going to get their best shot. Is that going to be worth anything? It's hard to say that it will be at this point. They just gave up 20 plus to Iowa, right? And lost. But you'll get a chance against UCLA and Purdue, and I know it hurts your heart, but Rutgers. Like you'll get a chance. I know who they are. They
just got destroyed by Oregon. Yeah, that defense is soft.
They'll get a chance to make things right. Now maybe you feel a little bit like Billy Napier in Florida. You're trying to build like a champion. You might not know quite how to execute that. Aaron and the team at Elevated Integrity Construction have a winning pedigree and a team of All-Americans. They are a juggernaut of the industry. They've built a dynasty with championship builders. So if you have a home, church, or business build, go with the folks with integrity right there in their name. ElevatedIntegrity.com. Also want to mention that the Rivalry Podcast is a proud member of the Varsity Network powered by Learfield. This is season 2. We're grateful for that partnership. Varsity Network is the must-have app if you call yourself a college football fan, which hopefully you do. Live broadcasts, on-demand podcasts, just like this one, free to download. Find the Varsity Network in your app store and be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast. We are also really excited. So we are partners with our friends at Homage this year. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I've got on a nice Detroit Lions shirt from Homage because they do play the Bucks tonight on Monday Night Football. Need to bounce back win. That's a different podcast. However, this is like one of the most comfortable shirts that I own. And I know you've got a bunch of Homage stuff as well, JP. They are fantastic. Since 2007, Homage has been helping fans pay homage to the people, places, teams, and moments that matter most to them. Quality craftsmanship, elite storytelling, and trademarked legendary comfort. If you go right now into the show notes, into the YouTube description, podcast description, you'll see a link there to Homage. You can go peruse, see what stuff they've got. We know Christmas is coming up. Okay. I realize it's still October. I'm telling you, Christmas is coming up. It sneaks up on me. This is a good, and by the way, it doesn't have to be for other people. Okay. You can be I know this is from a ministry, but
treat yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Go get yourself something nice.
You deserve something nice too.
So if you click the link, you shop there, you get yourself maybe some Ohio State stuff, Detroit stuff, whatever, maybe you're like, hey, I just love college football and I'm a Akron fan. I actually don't know if they have Akron stuff, but cause I don't need that, but you could go look, they've got some great stuff. Go check that out at the link. Not only can you get yourself something awesome from Homage, you will support the podcast as well. Thank you for doing that. Be sure to subscribe, follow, do all that stuff on social media or wherever you're listening right now.
I think that I need to start this segment off because we're going to get ready to talk about Michigan. They had a huge game this past weekend against Washington. And all season long, I know that you've been on the opposite of this, rightfully so. You're a Michigan guy. But I've had criticism that I think is fair of Bryce Underwood. I clearly the talent has been there, but I just don't think that he's had one of those games where I feel like Bryce Underwood was the reason that game was the way it was. And this felt like a game where going up against DeMond Williams, going up against this offense, and I don't think Bryce was the sole reason. I think obviously there were very obvious factors as to why Michigan won this game. This was maybe one of the first games that I remember watching this season where Bryce Underwood felt like the best quarterback in the room. And I get that. I don't even want to say that because he's played lower competition that I think he's been clearly better than. But this was the kind of performance in a big game that I wanted to see from him. And I felt like he stepped up to the plate. I wrote down he went 21 to 27, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he was in control almost the entire game.
This was the game that we said he needed to have.
100%. He answered that call through and through.
And you and I have obviously disagreed on Bryce's performance. You've been, I think, unfairly critical. There have been moments where he's deserved it, or at least where you could go, oh, right, like we're starting a true freshman at Oklahoma. Or, okay, yeah, we're starting a true freshman at USC, and also the USC game was just across the board terrible. Here's what I really loved. I love the fact that not only was Bryce accurate, but he looked comfortable, right? And obviously playing at home helps that a ton, but you could just see the confidence. Mm-hmm. You could see the confidence. Julian Sayin talked about this after the Wisconsin game. When you start stacking completions, it just builds your confidence, right? It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And so he was seeing guys well, he was finding them. And one of the things that stood out as well is, I mean, the RPO game for Michigan, and he had a couple that I think even fooled the broadcast crew. Where there was one I think even to Jasper Parker where he held it out there, pulled it back, and just stood there, and then pulled the trigger. And it fooled the camera crew, it fooled everybody, and it was a perfect throw. So not every throw was right on the money, right? There were a couple passes that were behind. He had one I saw being criticized where he threw the ball kind of behind the receiver, and people were like, "Oh, look at this terrible throw." He's rolling to his opposite side and finds the receiver. That's pretty darn good. But it obviously wasn't just Bryce. A lot of the attention coming into this game, understandably so, was going to be on Michigan's defense. The Michigan defense was absolutely atrocious against USC. Mm-hmm. Wing Martindale is an absolute liability. Michigan simplified their defense in this game. They didn't do anything crazy like they tried to do against USC. And I was concerned that what we saw against USC, we were going to see against Washington. And those two teams, we were calling them USC 2.0, right? I mean, here's another really good quarterback, really good running attack, fantastic pass catcher in Denzel Boston, and Michigan looked completely different with the way that, and Damon Williams still threw for like a couple hundred yards. It never for a second felt like it.
No,
I mean, they limited Washington's chunk plays. Washington still got, 3, maybe 4 chunk plays, but you can live with that, right? And so when we talk about looking at Ohio State at the end of the year, right? Jeremiah Smith is going to get his, right? Like he's going to. Carnell Tate is going to get his. But there's a difference between giving up a big play or two and getting just torched left and right all night long. Michigan did not have that happen to them, and I was really, really impressed by that.
I think where this game got out of hand was almost towards the end of the third quarter, because this was a 7-7 game for a majority of the time, up until there were just a brief couple of series. And I wrote these down because it was just absurd to me. This was about a minute and a half left in the third quarter. Damon Williams gets intercepted by Michigan. Michigan starts to drive at the Washington 14-yard line. One play later, they go in for a touchdown. I think it was Jordan Marshall that scored that.
Yep.
So they go up 14-7. Immediately, Washington gets the ball back. 3 plays in, throws another pick. That then leads to another long Michigan. I think it took 5.5 minutes off the clock. Drove Michigan down. They get another one. In the span of those drives, it went from a 7-7 game where anything could go to now Washington is down 21-7 with their backs against the wall with not a lot of time left to go. That was the momentum shift. There were times even at the beginning of this game where even though the score was 7-7, it still felt like Michigan was in control here. I thought going into this game with Justice Haynes not playing, with the offense Washington was going to lead, I thought that this would be a game where you would see the ground game struggle a little bit. Not to say they would struggle the whole entire time, but losing Haynes and not having him playing is a huge missing piece.
Yeah, he's one of the best running backs in the country.
I would say he's been the best this year.
Yeah.
But you had Jordan Marshall, who's still clearly talented, has had his touches this year and has proven his worth. Go out there and just have a monster game, 130-something yards on the ground, a touchdown, just playmaker through and through. The defense, despite not getting a lot of sacks, not getting a ton of tackles for loss, felt like they were in Damon Williams' face the whole game.
Well, and the pressure rate was fantastic.
The pressure was crazy. The amount of deflections that it seemed like they were getting to, he was not comfortable from the start.
Well, and Damon Williams, just as a reminder, and we mentioned this last episode, had thrown for like 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 pick. And I believe we talked about the Ohio State game. He threw 3 interceptions in this game. And yes, some of it is credit to Michigan's defense. Some of it was bad throws.
All of them were in the second half to basically the fourth quarter. The one was with a minute and a half left in the third, and then the other 2 were in the fourth quarter. I mean, just at the worst possible times.
And so yes, like I've seen some folks say like, well, it was poor decision making by DeMond. It's like, well, yes, but also where does that come from?
Yeah,
it comes from the Michigan defense. And so, I mean, you just picked off a guy who only threw 1 pick all year. You picked him off 3 times in essentially a quarter and a half. I mean, that's a really good job by Michigan. And you can give some credit to Wink, although he can be left on the tarmac at the end of the year regardless. You can give some credit to him for going, okay. I mean, it felt like, and I don't know this for sure, but I've heard rumblings that there was kind of a nice little meeting after USC, kind of like Michigan had last year, where it was, last year there was the meeting that said, you have to simplify this. We can't run this. And he changed, and we saw a significant shift to Michigan's defense at the end of the year. There were rumors and rumblings, and maybe it was just speculation. I'm not in those rooms, but it sounded like maybe something similar happened. The game plan certainly looked that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, real good job by Michigan. One of the things we didn't mention about Michigan's offense here, though, is that they spread the ball around a lot more. So we've been seeing Donovan McCulley and Andrew Marsh. Heading into Michigan State week, I got to make sure I clarify which Marsh we're talking about here, right? But Andrew Marsh and McCulley both being featured. Andrew Marsh got featured again. Donovan McCulley he had couple catches.
Yeah. Which,
if you're Washington, or if I just gave you that stat, I mean, you'd probably panic if you're Michigan. And if you're Washington going, oh, we held McCulley to 2 catches. Oh man. The problem is that Michigan found like 6 other receivers to catch the ball, including backup tight ends. Zach Marshall was fantastic. Zach Marshall had 5 catches, 72 yards, and his first career touchdown. Deacon Tonelli, 3 catches. That's like a 4th string tight end. Yeah. Deacon Tonelli, 3 catches, 38 yards. And by the way, Tonelli had a massive 3rd down catch that helped get Michigan into scoring position. I mean, this was not just feed this one guy, as much as I think that Marsh and McCulley are obviously the 2 guys you want to go with. The involvement of the tight ends, even without Marlon Klein, even without Hogan Hansen, I mean, that bodes really well for Michigan, because again, who's the safety net typically for young quarterbacks? It tends to be the tight ends. That doesn't mean that you go away from Marsh and McCulley. Those guys have got to be features. It's clearly, those are clearly your top 2 guys, and I don't even know what order you want to put them in at this point, but those are your top 2 guys. But having tight ends and having your 3rd and 4th tight ends be able to step up in that role, this was a pivotal game for Michigan. I mean, we talked about this last episode. Michigan loses this game, everything's going off the rails. You win this game, and it doesn't mean you will, but now have the opportunity to walk into Ohio State week at 9-2, and you could be playing for a spot in the Big Ten championship, depending on how other things shake out. You're then playing for an opportunity to go to the college football playoff if you win that game. Even if you don't go to the Big Ten championship, if you beat Ohio State, you've gone 10-2 with that win on your resume, you're probably in. So everything needed is still in front of Michigan because of the way they were able to come together at a pivotal moment. This looked like a new team. And the one question that I was left with, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but even the way the offense ran, what's the real Michigan? USC and Washington were 2 completely different teams. And I would say on the positive side, given the way that Michigan ended last year after some of those defensive adjustments, I expect that what you saw against Washington is far more likely to be what you see the rest of the way going forward. If it's not, then I don't know what we're doing.
Well,
there.
I mean, to help you guys, I mean, that was prior to Ohio State at the end of the year. That's your last really tough game. I mean, Michigan State, because it's a rivalry.
We'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah.
And frankly, Maryland is a weird team to figure out too.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Maryland's good.
But
are they?
They're good. They're not that good.
I mean, never has the whole September Maryland versus October, November Maryland line been so distinct. So, but yes, Michigan, someone else put it this way. Michigan will be favored in every game leading up to Ohio State.
100%.
So get the job done. And it starts this weekend. Michigan State. I feel the need, because I know that there's a lot of Ohio State fans obviously listening to the podcast. I feel the need to kind of set the scene, because I don't know that Ohio State fans, I think you get it, because we've done this for long enough.
A few times.
But like, I don't think Ohio State fans understand how much of a rivalry this is. And I'll have people ask me, well, my cousin from such and such, he said Michigan State's a bigger rival than Ohio State. No, they're not.
No, get out of here.
The only place that it might be is maybe with certain individuals, right? So if you live in Grand Rapids or you live in Ypsilanti, and your brother went to Michigan State, but you went to Michigan. That happens, right? Well, my dad's side of the family all went to State, but my mom's side of the family all went to Michigan. For those individuals or those families, that might be a bigger rivalry. For a fan base, no, it's both not even close, and yet, and this is the point I want to emphasize, and yet this runs so deep.
Oh, for sure.
I hate this team. I do not respect this team. I despise this team, and I'd like us to drive them into the center of the earth. In case you were wondering how much pacing and anxiety I will have on Saturday night. Also, can we stop kicking this game off at 7:30?
I love that it's a good old-fashioned night game.
The last time this happened, 7:30 kick at Spartan Stadium was 49-0. I'd accept that again. There's a lot of places you could go to talk about this game for Michigan. Let's start with the Michigan State offense. This will not surprise anybody, but as goes Aiden Childs, so goes Michigan State. Mm-hmm. Aiden Childs is their best rusher. He's obviously their best passer as well, which may or may not be saying much of anything. But the run game goes through Aiden Childs as well. Outside of Childs, Michigan State like there's not being able to run the ball, Ohio State, and then there's not being able to run the ball. This was an incredible stat against Indiana this week. Now, granted, Indiana's got a good defense. Mekhi Frazier, who I guess would be considered Michigan State's lead running back, Mekhi Frazier ran for 0.1 yards per attempt. He had 7. He gained 1 yard. 0.1 yards per attempt. So, I mean, like this offense for Michigan State struggles on the ground outside of Aiden Childs. And that's obviously what makes him so dangerous. He's a mysterious quarterback to try to analyze, right? And maybe you would agree with this as well, because he will have these games where he went like 9 of 23 in the entire Nebraska game. He went 8 of 17 for 66 yards against UCLA before he got pulled, and then threw for 300 yards on Indiana.
Well, in his defense, the Nebraska and UCLA game, he got hurt in both of those.
Sure.
So while that doesn't take away from the stats, I mean, those stats are But
we've got a wide body of work to look and see that he's not that great. But then he suddenly puts on a performance like that against Indiana.
I think you've seen flashes of it where he's been really good. I don't really count those games. I mean, you can look at him because he wasn't effective really at all and then got hurt. What I look at is he is their only player and they still rank 108th in the FBS and total yards per game, which shows just how one-dimensional that offense really is.
Now I will say, I would disagree that he's their only good player, especially on the offense side.
But like you said, he's the person that runs all of it.
Nick Marsh is going to be the big focal point for the Michigan defense, right? I mean, Nick Marsh is literally Keon Coleman on Michigan State.
Well, Amari Kelly has been great too. They've got some good wide receivers out there.
Where you look at a guy like Keon Coleman who played at Michigan State and you went, oh man, this kid is really good. And then he went to Florida State and was like, oh man, he's really good because he has a quarterback now. And now, I mean, now he's in the NFL. Like Nick Marsh is a great receiver if Childs can get him the ball. And that's been part of the problem, is that their offensive line is basically useless. Mm-hmm. It's basically just 5 beanbags. And Michigan, like they can't protect, they can't create run gaps. So of course the run game struggles. Like this offense is not good. But here's what I would say. If Michigan reverts back to the weird wink stuff where we are just sending guys like crazy, you will get burned. You don't need Michigan needs to roll out the Washington game plan, right? Like Aiden Childs,
3 interceptions every single game.
Aiden Childs is a poor man. You know, it's great value DeMond Williams. That's Aiden Childs. If Michigan insists on let's just send the house every time, guess what? Like he can throw a screen pass, right, and get torched that way. You don't need to do that. This offensive line can't protect him. If Michigan stays with kind of that Washington-esque game plan as far as the way that they handle the quarterback, they will be fine. If we revert back to whatever that was against USC, we're trying to do all this funky stuff. That's where Michigan's going to get into trouble.
I think this game is just always interesting because we had similar thoughts going into last year's game where Michigan's quarterback play was just atrocious, just awful.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore.
We walked into that game going, well, they're going to be outplayed by the quarterback position. It's going to come down to how effective can they be at running the ball. And to be honest, that was a relatively close-ish game last year at Ann Arbor. I mean, it was a gritty win. And so I'm looking at it.
Michigan got dominated for, 20 of the first 30 minutes of that football game.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at this, and as much as I want to go, well, yeah, I mean, statistically, Michigan State should be outplayed in almost every single category. There's still that part of the rivalry that having been there, even as an OSU guy, I can feel. You just walk into an arena and you can just feel the tension in the air. This game always has that. Yeah. It just always does. This is a game where it doesn't matter the record. No. You've seen it with Ohio State and Michigan. You throw that paper out, it doesn't matter. And so we can read you stats all day. It really is a 50-50 coin flip most years. Granted, when Michigan was really dominant, had McCarthy in them, it wasn't really a 50-50. You pretty much knew what was going to happen.
And I don't even know if I'd say it's 50-50, but I fully agree with you that look at the landscape of college football. Mm-hmm. Anybody, any given Saturday. I mean, it's just the reality. And so, especially then you add in the ingredient of a rivalry game, am I sitting here going, there's no way Michigan State could win this game? Absolutely not. I just gave you a huge way that Michigan State could win it. If Michigan tries to run this ridiculous defense that they don't need to, yeah, Childs is a talented quarterback. He's Jekyll and Hyde. He's hot and cold, and the cold has seemed to win out because Michigan State has turned the ball over like crazy. Turnover margin. Michigan is plus for the season. Michigan is +9 turnover. That's one of the best in the country. Michigan State is -3.
Mm-hmm.
That's significant. And that's kind of what I mean, where Childs, you see the athleticism. He can throw for 300 on Indiana. And they got beat 38-13, And so it's tricky. I do want to, we'll predict it here. I do want to mention their defense.
They have one?
Well, in theory.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Their rush defense is actually kind of okay. Like it's not great. It's middle of the road. It's a middle of the road rush defense. The secondary is atrocious. The secondary is just absolutely terrible. And so this is a much worse defense than Washington has. But the way that they line up reminds me of Washington, where it's like, okay, like you're going to have to work to run the ball a little bit, but you should be able to pass the ball well. And we saw how Michigan handled that against Washington. This should be, at least on paper, this should be an easier task than that. And Michigan was able to handle that without much issue. Michigan State doesn't get to the quarterback terribly well, which means Bryce should have time, which helps explain some of that passing proficiency. If you can't pressure the quarterback, you can't sack him. You give a college quarterback time, even if they're not all that good, like they're going to be able to find ways to beat you. And then I mentioned the turnover margin. I feel like that's likely to continue. I won't read you all the stats that I wrote down. Actually, I'm going to read you some of them because I really enjoyed this one. They gave up 400 yards and 38 points to UCLA. They gave up 350 yards and 24 points to Youngstown State. And this is actually my favorite one. 1-6 Boston College. They gave up 450 yards, 40 points, and it took them double overtime to beat them. So
they're not good.
Yeah.
They rank like 121st in FBS in scoring. They give up almost 33 points a game. It's not even going to be close.
So you hit me with your prediction, then I'll summarize my thoughts here and we'll move on.
I got Michigan 38, Michigan State 10.
I like that.
That I feel pretty confident in that. Michigan State, the past couple of games, has routinely given up 30 plus. They averaged giving up 33 points a game to their opponent. This feels like a game you get another week to get Haynes back, get him healthy. The way Jordan Marshall has been playing, the emergence of Andrew Marsh. I really like the weapons that Michigan is starting to develop. They're going against just an atrocious defense. Yeah. And so I think Nick Marsh, I think Amari Kelly, I think Aiden Childs is gonna have a good day. I don't see an avenue. I don't think, even if they were to get into a shootout, I just don't trust their defense over the Michigan defense right now.
And I think the way that the Michigan defense played, again, I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really do think that is the determining factor in this game. At least one of them. If Michigan rolls out the same game plan defensively, they will be fine.
I think in a game plan like they did against USC, I don't think.
See, I disagree with you though. I think they will get burned.
I just don't think that Michigan State's offense is explosive enough. I mean, you're comparing Michigan State's offense to USC. Playing a defense against a team like USC, whose offense is elite, versus Michigan State, who could score some points potentially if you play that.
I wouldn't say
different.
I wouldn't say I'm comparing them as much as I'm saying that I think that there are some comparisons that you can draw. I think that Michigan's going to roll out the same game plan we saw on Saturday, and so I think it'll be a moot point. But like that's it feels almost like it's not quite as distinct, but it almost feels like the only way Ohio State can lose this game is if they keep running at the defensive tackles that are going to the NFL, and then they did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the only way Michigan can lose this game is if Michigan decides to just keep sending the house when they just simply don't need to do that. Please don't do the thing. That is my request. Please don't do the thing. Michigan's offense, especially if Justice Haynes is good to go, should be able to do just about whatever they want against this team. This is a road game for Michigan. It's a different type of road game. Michigan State's not very good. You're going to get a huge influx of Michigan fans there. he's also, I mean, he's a Michigan kid. Bryce Underwood's a Michigan kid. He knows what this rivalry means. And so I feel like it may take him a moment to kind of settle himself in because those emotions, I mean, he plays with energy and I love it. But I think that the emotions, you know, they talk about don't get too low, don't get too high. I think we're going to need him to kind of not be a true freshman for a minute, kind of ease your way in there. That's going to be on coaching to say, hey, go through your progressions. Like it may take him a quarter to settle down here. I am going to take Michigan covering the 14.5 point spread. I'm going to take Michigan 45.
Okay.
And Michigan State 6.
Not a missed extra point or a
no, couple field goals.
2 field goals.
Because even if it takes Michigan a second to settle in, and I've actually said this on past Michigan State games where Michigan State Michigan struggled with giving up that first drive. They didn't against Washington, but you're like you mentioned, you're in a high energy rivalry game. If I hate this team, how much more do these other guys staring across hate these guys? It takes you, especially on the road, like it takes you a little bit to kind of slow down and not get all juiced up, not get too hot and kind of settle in. So, I wouldn't be surprised if kind of like the Indiana game, if Michigan State goes up 3-0 early and everyone goes, oh, it's late first quarter. We're down 3-0. It would not shock me even if this game was like, it wouldn't shock me if this game was 17-6 at the half and everyone's kind of looking around. Be patient. You don't have to, be up 24-0 at halftime. You can, that'd be great, but just relax, let the game play itself out there because sometimes you're playing basketball with your little brother. You let him get the lead, come back and take it back.
So 45-6, 38-10, both picking Michigan.
Here's the last thing I want from this game. I want to see Bryce Underwood strike the Paul Bunyan pose. That's all I want. That's all I want in this life is just give me a shot of Bryce Underwood striking the pose.
With a bunch of Michigan State fans crying in the background.
Go home happy. College football pick'em. Let's look at the broader college football weekend. There are some good football games coming up this weekend.
There's a lot of ones that are kind of, I feel like flying under the radar that outside of the top 25.
I've got 6 games. I did not give these to you ahead of time, so maybe you checked your schedule and tried to
guess.
All right. Here's the first one I'm going to give you, just because I feel like we need to put some respect on America's team. UCLA at Indiana.
Don't you tempt me with a good time. Don't you throw that in my face.
Can we all agree UCLA is now America's team? Like, is that like, are we not all cheering for them?
I'm loving it. I'm buying into them.
Listen, they've won 3 in a row, 4 in a row,
3.
It might be. I don't know. They've won a bunch of games in a row now, and it's fantastic.
You and I had this conversation on Friday before you headed up to Michigan to watch the Washington game, and I said that the one game that really scares me left on this Ohio State schedule is UCLA because while on paper they should be exponentially better, it's always tough when you play a team that's coming in hot, and this UCLA team is as hot as they get right now.
I'll tell you what. I'm taking Indiana. I'll tell you what, if UCLA, I'm all in on UCLA. If UCLA beats Indiana, we got a problem.
Oh,
and by we, I mean you. In Ohio State, have a problem because Nico's then going, I'm coming back to the shoe.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, Indiana though.
I'm gonna go.
This should not, my guy. You have hated on Indiana so much.
I know.
Stop. You're not taking UCLA in this game.
I'm not. I'll go Indiana, but
that should not have taken. That should not have wasted 20
Well, they
seconds.
were one of my stupid geniuses, so I guess I'll eliminate that now. Yeah, I'll go Indiana. I really do believe in the Indiana defense. I'm sold that they're a good team. I just want to see how great they can be.
Well, they're currently the highest ranked that they've ever been in the history of their program.
And that's fine. So. That's fine. UCLA, I would love nothing more than to see that happen. I just don't see it.
That is a noon kick, so we'll get that one out of the way early. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Ole Miss coming off a tough loss to Georgia where they led in the fourth quarter, and Kirby Smart did what Kirby Smart does. That was my stupid genius pick, was Ole Miss. Missed out on it. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Oklahoma with a good bounce back win, which let me just aside for a moment, because I don't know if it was John Napier wasn't healthy thing, the way Oklahoma looked against Texas, and then just watching Texas take overtime to beat Kentucky, and just like, Texas is not good. Texas is not a good football team. Makes it a little dicey to pick out what I want to do with Oklahoma. I still believe in John Napier. I'm taking the Sooners here. This is a massive game. I mean, this is, I don't know if I can say it's a playoff elimination game, but it certainly is going to be an SEC championship elimination game.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to side with Oklahoma as well. I really like the defense. I think the more that Napier continues to get healthy, I mean, not that any game from this point out isn't a must win, but Oklahoma's got a gauntlet. Have you looked at the remaining schedule?
It's tough.
At Tennessee, at Bama, Mizzou at home, and then LSU at home. It ain't going to be easy.
So, I mean, they could, and again, that's where I'd say they can, this is not an elimination game from the playoff contention, but the loser of this game is going to have to back their way in as an at-large spot. And if you're Oklahoma, looking at that schedule down there, you probably have less likely a chance to back your way in than, frankly, than Ole Miss has.
100%. I'm going Oklahoma.
I am too. College game day going to be here. I don't know if it's their first time there, but I've got to believe this is the first time Vanderbilt has been ranked inside the top 10.
Let's go.
What a time to be alive. What a timeline we're on. Number 15, Mizzou, at number 10, Vanderbilt. Who you like in this one?
I'm going to go Mizzou. I really am. I think I really want this for Dayo Pavia because he's the kind of player that I irrationally love.
Yeah.
He feels like America's QB. He's got the tenacity that I just love watching. He's so exciting. But I think Bo Pribula, he's been great this year. He's had some tendency to have some mistakes. He's got, I think, 7 interceptions on the year. He's been sacked, I think, 17 plus times. So I think this could be interesting. I just don't think Vanderbilt's got enough. This feels like one that Mizzou's going to walk in there and crush Vanderbilt's dreams and put a major dent in their season.
Mizzou needs this game because, again, much like the game we just talked about, this is not an elimination game for Mizzou, but Mizzou also then has to turn around and go play Texas A&M on. They've got a bye next week, so they've got Texas A&M after that. They also have to still play Oklahoma. So again, if you lose this game, you're now looking at it and trying to sneaking an at-large bid. Same could be said for Vanderbilt, for that matter. I'm going to take Vanderbilt in this game. Vanderbilt's got something going. I know they didn't get done against Alabama. Look at the way Alabama's playing.
Yeah.
And having to go into Tuscaloosa, and they didn't get blown out in that game. Like they were in that football game. They're 6-1. Like Vanderbilt.
Just because the vibes. Go with just the vibes.
That's why you're on this podcast, is for the vibes only. Give me Vanderbilt in this one. I'm going to have us just give your pick for this one, because unless you've got something crazy, I don't think that there's anything here. Alabama at South Carolina. I've taken Alabama.
Yeah, it's got to be Bama.
Let's move on then to BYU. We already talked a lot about Alabama earlier in the episode. BYU at Iowa State. BYU gets a massive win.
Yeah.
Massive win in the Holy War. But now it has to go to Ames and see Rocco Becht.
I had this one written down. I think I'm going BYU. I just feel like between the two teams, I just trust BYU more at this moment.
I think BYU is a really good football team. And
Is that your choice?
It is. Yeah. I'm not confident in Iowa State. I know they started the year off well.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that September Iowa State is the same as late October Iowa State. And so I'll take BYU. The primetime matchup that will be running in tandem with Michigan State is Texas A&M, ranked 3rd in the country, going to Death Valley, number 20 LSU. LSU coming off a tough loss to Vanderbilt. Brian Kelly is going to be in hot water if he does not find a way to make the college football playoff.
Well, and I think that this game's tricky because LSU was without Whit Weeks last week. He didn't play. Obviously, one of their best defensive players, a huge loss for them. I don't know what that looks like. I didn't read too much into his injury to know if he could potentially return, what that looked like. I'd seen some reports that he was in a boot. I don't know the extent of that. If he is able to play, I feel like this is a really good game for LSU to get back into the swing of things. I think Brian Kelly can save his job with the win like this. I think this is a Garrett Nussmeier game. This feels like a game going into Death Valley that it feels like once a year you get that game at LSU where you kind of think they shouldn't be in it and then they somehow pull it out. This is giving me those vibes. So for that reason, I'm going LSU.
I think LSU, I mean, I think your analysis is right on there. LSU's defense has been a strength of this team. The offense has started figuring out, but has sputtered. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M's defense is a little hot and cold for me sometimes. They look really good some weeks, and then they're giving up 40 points to Notre Dame, right? And I get Notre Dame's that got a good offense, but I'm not sure on A&M's defense. I'm not sure on LSU's offense. I'm pretty sure on LSU's defense though. And as good as Marcel Reed and Texas A&M have played, I feel like LSU might have the advantage here. I'm going to take LSU in an upset over A&M as well. I think it's a solid pick. Obviously, Death Valley is a very difficult place to go play. I think Texas A&M is a legitimate team. Don't hear me saying that. Well, I think they're frauds or anything like that. Absolutely not. But I do think that this might be too tall of a task. If you're A&M and you get this win, though, I mean, you are cruising.
Well, and let's just talk about the nature of college football. I mean, it's really hard to go undefeated, especially in today's college football world.
Miami.
Ask
Miami if it's really hard to go undefeated.
Really tough.
By the way, we should have seen the Miami thing come. We're not picking the Miami game this week, but I mean, we should have seen it coming. Here's a team from Florida going to play a Friday night game. Like we've already seen this with Florida State and Virginia. The question for Miami, by the way, is now going to be, they fell off a cliff at the end of last year and missed the playoff. Can you avoid that happening again? You should be able to. You should.
Yeah.
But also, like, you don't have a lot of room for error
Carson
here.
Beck looked awful in that game.
Which is crazy.
Just awful.
Bad Carson Beck had returned.
Yeah.
Let's go stupid genius upset pick of the week. The rules are simple. 5.5 point favorites, or you have to pick a 5.5 point underdog at time of recording on Monday morning. If you get your upset pick right, you get whatever the spread was. You are currently up on me 23.5 to 6.5 to 6.5. What do you have this week?
I wrote down 3 options because I really couldn't decide, and I've already eliminated the one because the first one I went with my heart, it was going to be UCLA over Indiana, just because, would I love nothing more.
Ridiculous.
What I'm actually going to do, I feel very confident in. I feel like this one's going to hit. I'm taking Minnesota at Iowa, 8.5 point underdogs.
I consider this one. I did not take it. So talk to me a little bit about Minnesota, because apparently we've got like angry Gopher fans in our comments now.
Didn't even know they existed. Somebody said that we would be looking back on the Minnesota. Well, me specifically for Ohio State would be looking back on Minnesota as a big win or as a good win when it comes time for the playoffs. I don't think Ohio State's going to have to convince the committee to let them in. And if they did, it sure as heck wasn't going to be over a win against Minnesota.
But I will say, like, Minnesota had a really nice, dominant win over Nebraska. Like, that's a big win,
which surprised me. And so
we've got no one has ever hated Minnesota outside of Wisconsin.
Yeah, So I'm looking at this Minnesota team, and I think we even said it. Drake Lindsey is a great quarterback.
Yeah.
The dude's got a lot of promise. This team is a good team, but when you're talking about the likes of them playing a team like Ohio State, they're a bad team. They're going to they're outmatched at every position, and you saw that. It was like 40-something to nothing. But I do like this team.
Do you think they can overcome the Iowa defense? Because I believe the game is at Kinnick.
It is. It's at Kinnick. I feel like they've started to get into a nice groove. I know that Iowa's quarterback has been a stud this season. He's really helped that offense not be what everybody kind of expected them to be. Yeah. I feel like right now Iowa's defense is better than what Minnesota's going to put out there, but I really like what I'm seeing from Lindsey.
I don't think that's a bad pick.
8.5 just felt like too steep for me.
I don't think that's a bad pick. I mean, I hope you're wrong, but I went a little steeper with my upset pick. This is a game that no one is going to watch, but then I'm looking at going, I think there's something here. The last time I did this, I picked Bowling Green over Louisville, and that did not work. So maybe this might be okay. 13.5 point underdogs. Give me App State at Old Dominion,
Wow.
Speaking of
You're
games,
diving deep into the playbook for that one.
So here's why I'm going App State here. Old Dominion actually, and you've even heard some of these, like actually had a great start to their season. They had a close loss to Indiana, and then like won their next 4 games. Like they started off 4-1, and their only loss was to what's currently the number 2 team in the country. And then they kind of got shellacked by Marshall, and they gave up like 63 points to James Madison on Saturday. App State's passing offense is pretty good. ODU's passing defense is pretty good. I got a feeling that when you get beat back to back, just having the doors blown off you, that doesn't do a lot for your momentum. See, this is a really good analysis here.
Yeah.
Getting blown out, not good for team.
Stay tuned for more.
I'm going to take App State over Old Dominion in what would easily be my favorite Appalachian State upset of all time.
Oh, it would never replace mine. You want to know what it was?
No, I don't.
I'll send you a clip later.
Please.
Maybe you've seen it.
I'm pretty sure that was much like Trouble with the Snap. I'm pretty sure that was a fever dream I had.
Yeah, sure.
And never actually happened. You know what was crazy though? Just as we wrap up here. So I'm at the Michigan-Washington game, and I'm walking out the tunnel, and the tunnel did not make me try to assault someone with a football helmet. It was bizarre.
It's crazy how that works.
Washington and Michigan both shared the same entrance and exit, and nobody attacked anybody. Nobody threw a PB&J Uncrustable at anyone.
Well, who would disrespect an Uncrustable like that?
It's
That's
amazing.
the biggest offense.
It's amazing. I thought I'd heard rumors that the tunnel could make people do that, but apparently not. Anyway, Michigan State this weekend is going to be hopefully a lot of fun for me and for nobody in East Lansing. Be sure to listen, subscribe, rate, review, follow on social media at RivalPod, and as always, just enjoy another great weekend of college football. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.